The year is 1956, and following a vote in favour of full integration with the UK, the Maltese Prime Minister at the time, Dom Mintoff, made this statement from 10 Downing Street, explaining the Maltese vote to the British population.
The people of Malta have voted at the last general election, barely 4 months ago, for union with Britain. Such a union would guarantee their progress to the British standard of living, education, and social services. In return, they offer you, the people of Britain, a base as your own in the Mediterranean.
However, this plan never came into fruition. And one begs the question, why did Malta never integrate with the UK? World War II left a devastating effect on the Maltese islands. Italian influence on the Maltese population was diminishing. As it turns out, bomb dropping is not an effective foreign relations strategy. The post-war recovery in Malta was slow. In December of 1955, the British government agreed that Malta would be allowed to physically form part of the UK, meaning that 1. The island would be allocated 3 seats in the British Parliament. 2. The Home Office would take over responsibility for Maltese affairs from the Colonial Office. 3. The Maltese Parliament would retain responsibility over all affairs except defence, foreign policy, and taxation. And 4. The Maltese were to obtain economic equivalence with their British counterparts. These conditions were put to vote in Malta in February of 1956. Prime Minister Mintoff wanted full integration with the British Empire, as this would have meant that the Maltese would enjoy equal social and economic standing with British citizens. George Bourges-Olivier and his Nationalist Party wanted Malta to enjoy the same Dominion status shared by Canada, Australia and New Zealand, with the Queen remaining the head of state. Integration would have meant new obligations for Malta in areas of taxation and conscription. The Nationalist Party pointed out that Malta becoming part of Britain would have resulted in the loss of its character, history, culture, and ethnicity, which had survived hundreds of years of colonisation. The Maltese Catholic Church, led by Archbishop Gonzi, was also very sceptical of the proposal, fearing that the church would lose its position of high privilege and influence in Malta and become secondary to the Anglican Church. Results for the 1956 referendum showed that nearly 75% of the votes cast were in favour of integration. However, the Nationalist Party had boycotted the referendum. You see, the referendum question did not include their Dominion status proposal. The boycott meant that voter turnout stood at 60%, meaning that only 44% of the total Maltese electorate had actually voted for integration. Meanwhile, seeing what was going on in Malta, the British Parliament started getting cold feet. They did not want Malta to set a precedent for the other colonies. In addition, helping the Maltese achieve the economic equivalence would have cost the British government £10 million every year, or €280 million in today's money. In July of 1956, an Anglo-French naval operation left from Malta to retake the Suez Canal. Operation Musketeer was met with international condemnation, and Britain, faced with a strong Egyptian resistance on the ground and diplomatic pressure from overseas, was forced to accept a ceasefire. The failure of this operation highlighted the reduced importance of a British military presence in the Mediterranean. This fundamental change in foreign policy proved to be the final nail in the coffin for the integration experiment. As the Maltese Deputy Prime Minister at the time, Giselle Mercer, put it, whereas the British economy is not based on defence, in Malta, Reductions in defence expenditure attack the very foundations of the island's whole economy. Mintoff did not react well to the British government backing up on its commitment to retain Malta as a military stronghold.
أنا في الكابينت ديشيدينا اللي دي العقدة مع إنجلترا ننسوها darba l-dejma għax irridu nafu biha aktar, ma rridux nitkellmu fuqha aktar. Aħna il-poplu tagħna tellana jew għaqda jew indipendenza, aħna rridu l-indipendenza. U għaddiju għaqda mal-Ingilterra.
Increasingly bitter disputes and the differing expectations towards the integration experiment were central to its ultimate failure. Mintoff's determination to achieve equivalence clashed with the British government's reluctance to make the necessary financial commitment. Malta would later go on to follow a path to full independence, forever consigning the integration experiment to the history books.